Hey there, welcome to day 14 of our SOAP framework and our Get Up and Go challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and today we're talking about the A in SOAP. A, of course, stands for action. Nothing happens until we take some action. Well, when we're thinking about action, we can go back to our framework that we covered about the who, what, where, when, why, and how. Well, who is going to take the action? It's always us. It's always up to us to do something, to act. What are we going to do? That's what this is all about. The action is all about looking at the list of things we brainstormed yesterday. And here's my little list. I can't remember what 3 I shared online, but I did share 3 online of things I could possibly do. And I don't know that they'll be the ones that I do anyway. Because what we want to do in action is we want to look at this list and we want to come up with a problem solving and decision making tool, some kind of a way of deciding, well, of all these things we came up with, now that we know there's so many possibilities, what are we actually going to do? Because it's not until the rubber hits the road and we actually do something that anything happens, right? Nothing happens. We can think until we turn blue in the face. We can plan and organize and decide in massive detail or in no detail. But until we actually take some sort of action, nothing happens. So how do we decide what we're going to do? How do we look at the list? And you wrote a list, right? You really did write it down. How do we look at the list and how do we look at it and decide what can we do? And we always want, when we're thinking about when, we want to think of now. What can we do now? What is the thing that we can take action on immediately to begin to fill that gap from where we are to where we want to go? Remember, on the S, we figured out where we were. We were really honest about where we were and where we wanted to go. Then we realized, okay, well, we're not there yet. So there's this gap between that. How are we going to deal with that? That's our real challenge, is filling that gap. So we brainstorm possibilities, possible ways to move us from here to there, possible ways to start bridging that gap. Are we going to find one thing that puts us all the way there? Probably not the first thing we try, right? Can't think of very many instances in my entire life where I knew where I was. I knew where I wanted to go. I had an idea. I quickly implemented the first thing I thought of, and voila, I magically had the thing I wanted. Yeah, not sure that's ever happened to me. If it's happened to you, share that in the comments below, because we could all benefit from that. We all like things to look forward to. So one of the tools I like to use, I want to share a tool with you today, is a problem-solving decision-making tool to decide among alternatives. So I've got all these alternatives, all these choices, and I can use a simple way of deciding, or I can use a difficult way of deciding. So this is an in-between way of deciding, and you can do it really, really fast. You can do it in your head. You can write it down. I say the bigger the problem, the bigger the challenge, the more likely I am to actually write things down and document them. Like, this is a bigger challenge. A 30-day challenge is a bigger challenge. So I'm writing stuff down. I'm writing down my homework. I'm actually doing it because I know it's a bigger deal for me. And the more I put into something, the more I'm going to get out of it. So I don't have a name for this yet. If anybody has a name for this, I'd love to hear it. But I look at 4 different categories of something when I'm analyzing these alternatives. So I ask myself, is this alternative important? Is it important to do the thing that I'm asking myself I want to do? So on here I put spa trip as one of my alternatives. Is a spa trip important? And by important, how close do I think it's going to get me from where I am to where I want to be? How important is it that I do it now? How important is it in the overall scheme and as compared to the other possible things that I could do right now, or that I could do to get me to make the most progress from where I am to where I want to be? So how important is it? And this is, of course, these are all subjective. It's up to you to decide and rank things in terms of what's more important to you, or what is important to you and what isn't. If it moves you faster to your goal, and we're going to balance some other things too. So let's talk about all 4 criteria, and then keep in mind, it's always up to you to define these terms. They're all subjective, right? Everything in life is subjective, by the way. It's up to you to define all of it. So I know that sounds like a lot of responsibility. So how important is it? That's number 1. Number 2, is it urgent? Is there something on your list that if you don't do it now, you're going to miss out on the opportunity? Maybe there's a chance to go to a lecture that's happening today. And if you don't go today, it's not going to be in your city anymore. Now, it's probably not a very good COVID example, but I think you understand what I mean. Maybe there's a webinar or something online that you can tap into, but it's only available for a short period of time. Now, remember, some of that online stuff is false scarcity and false sense of urgency. So don't fall for that. Know that the false sense of urgency stuff will come around again. So it's not really urgent. So is it important? Is it urgent? The other thing I like to look at is I like to consider the resources. And with urgent, there's a timing element, but with resources, there's a timing element, but it's how much of my time is it going to take to do this? How much money or raw materials or other resources do I have to have in order to do this? So if we're looking at the spa trip example, do I have the money to take a spa trip? Okay, are the spas even open during COVID-19? Most no, but maybe some. So is it even possible? Do I have the time that I could take? Say I want to go to a 1 week long spa trip and I'm working from home and I can't really do that while I'm at a week-long spa experience. So do I have the vacation time? Do I have the time? Do I have the money? Do I have the ability to get there? Do I have transportation? Can I drive there? Can I fly there? Do I want to fly with COVID? All these other considerations. So resources. So important, urgent, resources required. And then the next one I call effort or energy required. How much time and energy, again, time and effort, and also known as work, is it going to take for me to actually do this thing on the list, implement this particular thing, or at least take a step toward this particular item? Because sometimes, a spa trip is going to take more planning than researching a diet program is going to take more planning than drinking more water. So it depends on what the things are on your list, how much you need to break them down into smaller and smaller pieces. But I like to analyze the overall items on my possible options list quickly by asking myself, how important is it? How urgent is it? How many resources are required? And how much effort and energy or work is it going to be for me to actually do this thing? And I kind of prioritize and rank them. And for this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the list briefly, run through this, and just pick one thing. Our action item today is to pick one thing to take action on. You'll notice we have an action item every day of the 30+ day challenge. Why? That's how important action is. Action trumps fear. Action overcomes and creates momentum and does everything to move us in the direction that we want to go. We're not getting from here to there if we don't do anything, if we don't move, if we don't take a step up. Sometimes you just got to get up off the couch, and that action is enough to get you moving in the direction of what you want to do, what you want to achieve, what you want to be, what you want to have, depending on whatever area or aspect of your life you're working on. I'm working on my physical well-being, so I'm going to look at my list today. My homework, just like yours, is to look at my list, run through the important, urgent resources required, and effort or energy. So I say, or work. I'll work on coming up with the name for this because I think it's a great tool, but I know I can do a better job describing it. But I use some kind of filters. I guess they're all just filters, right? Ways we filter lists and information to help us make a decision faster and easier. So pick one thing, share in the comments below the one thing you're going to take action on today. And then the most important part, commit to yourself and actually freaking do it. Don't just write it down or type it and think you're done with it. You actually have to do the thing that you say you're going to do. That's the most important part, is being true to yourself, committing to yourself, and then following through on the things that you say you're going to do. It's our Get Up and Go challenge for today. Action in the area that you're working on. Share what you're doing in the comments below, and I'll be with you tomorrow. Any questions? Hit me up. Have a great day. Bye. Get up, go, get moving. Get this done.